him to come back to run all this.
Charlie could come back and be our IT guy?
Run all.
All right, so what do you need? You need a motion to approve this resolution? Or to send it on? Yeah, let's do that. I motion we send this resolution on to council for approval.
I'll second.
Does this need to go around? Or just,
And it's expenditure of funds, yes.
Yeah.
okay,
Lavallee,
Yes.
Gorman,
yes,
Perkins,
Yes.
Schulz.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
update on current projects.
So I just put together a short memo for all the stuff that's kind of going on in the ethos. This is part of a memo that was also put together by Gary. This ties some of his stuff with our stuff, so it's an update from Gary and myself, talking about where we're at on certain things. I don't know if anybody wants me to go through the whole thing, or if you got any questions about what's on there. But this is just merely to provide an update to this body.
I'm curious about your lead service line. You got 260. What's our estimate on how many are there?
So initially, what we had been reporting to the state was 1,300. That's just because they were unknown, so they were all submitted as unknown lead. Significantly less than that. I think of the 260 lead services that we have reported, I think maybe 3 to 4 of them are actually lead. Really? So we actually found a lead line over on Dewey and Division last week, and we just replaced it. There's a piece of 4-inch water main had a leak, and it was just right at the curb stop. So we replaced our side, and then the resident, I said at the same time, I said, we have the hole opened up. Your basement looks like it's in great shape for this. The foundation was broke out around their service line. So they were able to have somebody come in and replace their part of the service line relatively cheaply. So it worked out good.
The Route 173 sidewalk, is that the one that would go next to the bridge? We'd have to build a bridge next to the bridge? Is there a way we can see the design on that? Is it on the north side or south side?
It would be on the north side. This is where we have to add to the box culvert to carry it across.
Yeah.
Initially there was some talks of, a span bridge to get us out of the floodway, but it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, is the design available to look at? I'm just curious.
Not yet.
It said it's approved, that's why I thought.
I can see if I can get a copy of it from Gary.
Okay. No, that's fine. When are we tracking on that? When will that get done? A couple of years or?
Yeah, and then even longer because of we got to go through a lot of environmental being in a floodway.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't see any mention in here on the walking path to Rush Creek.
They haven't gotten back with a contract, an IGA yet.
Okay. Oh, so we need an IGA with the county?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I'm sure I'm going to be in these meetings because my family is involved in that. A lot of the properties are going to be going, a lot of that walkway is going to be going through our property. Or
I would imagine that
right
they would
away.
keep it within county right of way.
Yeah.
So, unless they need to do something like they need temporary easement or construction easement for grading.
Right.
I'd imagine they're going to try to stick.
Well, if it stays on the south side of that road, there's the Brown Bear signage is right there. And then you've also got all the electric poles are right there too. I'm not quite sure how this can. I don't know how far the right away extends off the road. Right. My question. So
a fair distance.
Okay.
When are we going to start seeing some of the results from that? We're going to put in all those monitors for the infiltration.
So they're actually coming out on Wednesday to start to preliminarily inspect the locations and then install them within a month. So we should start seeing that data daily once it starts coming in, and they're going to fact check it and do everything with that. They're going to be placing rain monitors, 3 locations, up by the well house, over by the library, and I was trying to get a hold of somebody from the Sportsman's Club to capture the south end of town for the rain gauge, but I haven't gotten a hold of anybody down there yet. Once they get those installed, we'll start seeing data. Initially, I was going to try to do different catch basins, but sitting down with them for a preliminary meeting, they identified that close to the plant, we have 4 different sort of sanitary systems that come together. So they thought that we would be better suited at this point to start as close to the plant as possible and then identify which one of those 4 legs is the biggest contributor and then start going out from there. Sort of rather than trying to get it in the middle and make some assumptions, they just said, let's start here and work our way out from
With the Maringo Road Bridge being behind, how much you think that's going to delay the road part as well now?
I don't think there's gonna, there are 2 projects that are independent of each other. So if the road starts, then
All right, 'cause
the hope was to have it all done at once, but
I don't, it's not in this part, but I read and I forgot where it was. There was members trying to do it all together and saying with it being delayed, I think that might have been Gary's thing saying that the road might get delayed then too.
so it's possible, but also I wouldn't put it past IDOT to tell us that we have to do the road ahead of the bridge, and they'll just do the bridge when it gets approved.
Okay.
I just want to say that I really like this kind of report. I think that this is, it just keeps everybody informed of what's going on. At some point, there should be some method to actually put this on the website, I think, for the public to take a look at. There's no secrets in here. And I think that it could cut off some of the questioning and conspiracy theorists and all those things that come along, because they would have an actual official document to look at. I actually made an attempt to do this in my early career here, and but it turned out to be a lot of work. I did it all through website building and so on, making web pages and that sort of thing. But unless you're willing to spend a little bit of money, which I wasn't, unless you're willing to spend a little bit of money for some planning tools and so on, so that you can do bar charts and that sort of thing, I don't think you can do it right on a computer. You could put PDFs together, of course, but I was trying to do something more than that, and so it kind of that, and the fact that my wife thought I was spending way too much time on that and not some other things that she wanted me to do, so I gave it up. But that's how important I think it is, though. I just think that having that kind of information available to everybody is invaluable. I mean, that's how, the more information we can provide, the better.
Well, we do have a current projects thing on our webpage.
It's not up to date.
No, yeah, it's not.
And the only thing I would say about, something to this level would be that IDOT, government agencies, everybody likes to, throw wrenches in the works, and if we put something out there that it's going to be done by a certain date, and one of the other agencies drags feet, people are holding things to those dates and fires, and so
Yeah, well, you always,
maybe a light version.
you always run that risk, but again, I think that's part of the update, is that you just explain that,
Yeah.
what happened, and whether it's, even if it's something that, a mistake that the city made, for example, I see nothing wrong with admitting that and, moving on. So, I still think it's better to do it than not do it. I realize that there is work involved, but I think that the value here is so strong for staff and for the city council that, just going that extra step can be helpful there as well and make it worth it. But good job.
I think it's really good.
I really like seeing this kind of stuff.
So I had one more on here. Donovan kind of helped me out on that one, but the Turtle Crossing stormwater issue with lots 88 and 89. He said the developer kind of fixed that issue, because it says right here, it says no action taken to date by city, because that's the only one that's not up to date of this month. It's back in September 1st of 2024. He explained they did this, the swale and everything behind the property and put like an underground main, or not like main, but a pipe under there that would go to the sidewalk and kind of flushes out over the sidewalk. That's what Donovan was explaining to me that today. And the other developer in another spot did the same thing, kind of, but just a swale. But my question is with that is because then he showed me pictures when we get the rainwater, like in the spring that we get, in it running over the sidewalk. Wouldn't that eventually, of course we won't see it for a couple of years, but degrade the sidewalk with all that water rushing over it? Is there a way that we could tie like that pipe that we mentioned into the storm drain instead of just going over the sidewalk?
I can't speak to what's been done over there.
It seemed like that was recently though,
That was done last year.
like
There's
when this
grade-
got brought up.
There's grade issues over
Yeah.
there with ADA grade and detectable warning surface, and there's nothing that just lets people out onto the street there. That's something that Donovan's department was handling. I provided insight to what I would recommend and what I wouldn't recommend, but I don't, past that, that's not something that I have hands on.
Okay, so my other question, I guess, with that would be, it would have been probably more feasible putting that pipe into the storm drain since it's rainwater going in the storm drain, and that's what it's for.
There's a storm drain in the backyard.
But it seemed like they also did another, not a swale in between the lot lines, but actually like an underground, I don't know if it's pipe or how you explain it, or like drainage style. So it goes in there, but then it leads out, like if I did out in my own property, I could lead it out to my, out in front of like an open thing, but that water, since it rushes through, that whole creek rushes through there, and if it catches that ends up coming above and it overtakes the ground, so it won't be able to evaporate into the ground. It's going to go over the sidewalk and rush over the sidewalk. And I saw the pictures of that. That's what I was saying. If we could have the developers actually tie that, because it's for stormwater, tie that tile or whatever actually into the storm drain itself. So it's actually going in that drain and pushing out where it needs to go. Because eventually, with all that water going over, you won't see it in the next few years, but that part of the sidewalk's going to erode, and the concrete and everything. I mean, am I not wrong on that, John? If the water keeps rushing over the concrete?
Well, it could undermine it also.
Yeah.
I don't know if, I get what you're saying, because you need some kind of infiltration there, but do we want that going into the sewers?
It's a storm drain, the storm drain.
So in the backyard of that property,
Not the sewer.
There's already a storm sewer
Okay.
structure.
Does it go
with
into the
either a
pond
10
then?
It goes to the storm sewer system. So there's a 10 or a 12-inch storm sewer main that goes from the backyards to the storm sewer system. They had a flooding event last year where all the corn stubble got stuck to that storm sewer drain, overwhelmed it, and it ended up going into the basement window of the house that was built there on the corner. What they ended up doing was they trenched in between the two properties. They placed a pipe up on top so that way it would surface drain below that. But they cut the sidewalk. They dipped the sidewalk down to let it run over the sidewalk. It would be my recommendation that you do not flow surface water over a sidewalk, especially down an ADA panel into the street. But those are just my recommendations. As far as an enforcement or anything from there, that's not my department.
No, and I understand that, because then the other part with that, John, was, and I forgot what lots there are, would be
Are we talking about these two lots here?
those two lots, and then the house that's built is, I think, right there, and then now the townhomes are now built, which isn't there. There was another issue with that, which they did put a swale in there, but it does run over the sidewalk instead of kind of going underneath and going into and like there's no storm drain there to take and go underneath the ground and take off. So it just runs over the sidewalk in those two spots when we get the heavy rains. So I understand from what Donovan told me, right? There's a house here now, right?
There's both houses that all.
Yeah, but I mean, that was the newer house. And then hers, because there was no swale right here, the piping, the swale in the back. That's where she started getting all the water because we go right to her basement and broke her basement window.
And it's one of those things where.
But since they fixed it, she's happy with that. In which they did a good part with that. My only concern is that pipe right here with the sidewalk here now, underground tying into the storm sewer, the storm drain, not the sewer, the storm drain. And this one is a swale, somehow tying you into it so it goes into the storm drain as well. Because this one runs over the sidewalk as well when it gets heavy rain.
I mean, right now, being that there's a 12-inch storm sewer, 10 or 12, it's a big one, 10 or 12-inch storm sewer tile that goes into the backyard to its own structure. You know, I don't know if that second, surface flow pipe is necessary. The sidewalk certainly isn't right over there.
What do you mean not right?
The grade.
Okay.
And just having an ADA panel dump somebody, a detectable warning surface tells you that there's another detectable warning surface on the other side to receive you. So when the contractor put in a curb cut and a detectable warning surface that just goes off into the street, there's nothing on the other side of the street. So you're sending, that's why on IDOT projects, when you touch one corner of the intersection, you got to do all four.
You're talking about in this corner here?
No, in between the two lots, they curb cut and installed a sidewalk flare with an ADA panel.
So that's one thing I must have missed this morning when I drove through there, is there's one that goes straight to the street
Or
on.
you might be able to pull up Google Earth for.
I don't think it
it's
is.
gonna be that
I saw it just before I came here, and that's not up to date either.
Did they do that just so they could push the sidewalk down there because it
Yes.
needed to be?
So there's pretty much the sidewalk on the street by 1520. You're talking about that house on the south side of Sage, kind of like right there. It just goes straight to the street right there. It's not an intersection.
Yes.
Oh.
So like they in order to, like Alderman Lavallee said, in order to get that, because the pipe's not very far down, in order to get that to drain, they had to lower the whole sidewalk and cut the curb, and their solution was to just put an ADA panel there and a flare.
Yeah, because they couldn't change the pitch and the grade without it. So they put that in there. And
Well,
now it's not doing it.
Why wouldn't they
It's not
put
doing
the
its
flare in without the ADA panel?
Because they're using it as an extension of the sidewalk. Like I said, this is
Okay.
A different department.
Okay. So I guess city staff, make note with that for future stuff with that issue.
Any other comments, questions about Rob's report? Okay, we'll move on then. Update discussion regarding surf internet. What?
No, it's a standing item. I didn't
Oh,
know
it's
if
just
there was
stand-
something.
Oh, I don't have anything.
Oh, we have a schedule now, right?
The schedule is the only thing that's changed. 6 p.m. now.
Oh, yeah. Is that why that was in there? Okay.
Yeah, to capitalize on, it's more daylight.
I thought they were working past 6 anyway.
No, we stopped that for about 3 weeks or so,
Oh.
3 or 4 weeks, that they're shutting down at 5. And then they asked if beginning this week they
I
can
got
start
it,
going
okay.
back to 6.
So we made him stop earlier. Now we're letting him go longer.
Just to 6, not, before they were working until, 7, 8 o'clock at night, even in the dark. We're not allowing that.
Well, in the summertime, they could work till 10 then.
Say that
They have to
way.
ask.
Yeah.
You gotta go north.
Okay. No, like I say, the only thing I've got, I think we should tell people, especially now that they're getting their lawns cleaned up and so on, that, you know, and if they're done, now if they're not done, if there are areas that haven't been, you know, where they haven't buried the cable yet, it seems to me like we have to leave the flags in, you know, but I don't think people know, you know, where they are. If they haven't ordered the, you know, the fiber, but they should pull the flags when they're done in an area so that everybody knows when they can start seeding their lawns and doing all that sort of thing. So nothing else on surf at this time? Okay. Strategic vision. My vision's going dim. This is my last meeting.
We have any more progress on, I don't know if staff was working on a sidewalk plan going forward, or maybe that's like for the next group of aldermen to discuss?
When we get to new business, we'll.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Lou. I have nothing then.
Okay.
Ready for new business.
All right, new business.
So to answer your question, Gary's working on a sidewalk master plan that also goes with the road master plan. So staff is not directly working on it. It's Gary, the city engineer. Just a couple updates I wanted to bring up. We do have a fully executed agreement with IPW Man for mutual aid. We did get a site readiness grant approved. This is through the DCEO. It's to look at some development, eventually some infrastructure down towards the southwest end of town. And there was a question that was brought up earlier. It's not directly related to this, but Bunks plans to open April 15th. It's a Mexican seafood barbecue and ribeye. And their Facebook page is coming. It was a question that was brought up by one of the committee members.
Got it early Sunday, so be ready for football.
I don't have.
Tex-Mex seafood grill.
It's like Tex-Mex just went bankrupt.
Yeah.
Original Tex-Mex.
Yeah. Heard that.
So that's all I have for new business.
So, may I ask what kind of guidance you gave Gary on sidewalks? There must be some parameters you gave him.
Just using Ann's rating system and going through and determining what sidewalks potentially need to be replaced, what the priority is to coincide with whatever road project we're doing. So if you're going to rip up an area of town, rip it up at the same time.
Oh, okay.
Well, I guess the bigger question is, how is it paid for? We never cracked that nut. We never said 50-50 program, city does it all. Oh, we
Jay,
did do
that's going
city
to be probably the next council.
Yeah,
knows
well, I
determine.
agree. I'm just saying that was like left on the table and it just never went anywhere. So.
You also didn't determine who takes ownership of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Who's the responsible party.
So in that part, staff is waiting for.
Yeah.
What's your pleasure?
Well, this has always been, you can't handle it in new business. So.
Yeah, no, and I'm just saying, if the mayor keeps John and I on this committee, at least we know what's going on with that, and we were involved in the initial discussions of the sidewalk as well.
Just thought it like to.
I guess with new business, with this going to new business, Lou, your memo about the Viaduct Bridge?
Yeah, it would. So there was a question that was brought up in the past, and I've gone through documents going all the way back to 1939, which is a pleasure to look through. And in the end, the final determination is that the city is actually responsible for the sidewalks going over the bridge, and that includes maintaining it. Guardrails over the bridge. And that was based on the 2005 agreement, which I have a copy right here. Number 15 on page 7 says, upon final field inspection of the improvement, the city agrees to maintain or to cause to be maintained those portions of the improvement which are not maintained by the state, including sidewalks, guardrails, crosswalk, and stop line markings. City-owned utilities, including appurtenances thereto, highway lighting, including furnishing the electrical energy therefore, and shall maintain the storm sewers, and so on. And then it goes into more detail. So we are responsible for it.
So Rob, do you have a plan then for maintaining the sidewalks during the summer at this point, like to trim
We're just we'll hit the weedy growth
Yeah.
with a weed whip, and then just hit it with some Roundup or something just to keep it down.
right. And then I know, Lou, we talked about the part on the north side of the bridge. It's damaged. It has been damaged for 3+ years.
Well, IDOT is responsible for that part.
It's on their 10-year plan,
Yeah.
I think, right?
Yeah, there's an incident report and insurance. They're just processing through it.
Okay.
If you can think of anything taking longer than an IDOT process, add an insurance company to that.
Yeah, no, I add insurance to it. Yeah,
When did that happen?
3 years ago at least.
Yeah, 2 years ago, something, 3.
And it's custom parts.
Yeah. But then the next question is, what would be the plan for the winter? How to keep one side of it open? I mean, I don't think you need to keep. I would actually put signs on the east side, closing that one, and leave the clear off one. Just clear one side, and instruct IDOT that they've got to, stop pushing.
I understand what you're saying there, but that's kind of a problem because you don't have a crosswalk there. You don't have a way for anybody to get from one side of the road to the other at the bridge.
The sidewalk
You
effectively
do up it-
ends at Brink and 173.
You got to go all the way back to the lights.
Well, you can
Well,
cross.
No, you can cross a Dewey. There's a crosswalk there.
Cross 14?
Yeah, actually, on the east side, actually is the one that has the longest sidewalk. And they also have an apron, I think they redid on that when they redid the bridge a year and a half ago. Or not, I mean, last summer, actually, when they did the 14 repaving.
Tell IDOT not to put their snow up there?
I guess
would
that's the
help.
other thing.
Yeah, good luck with that. Well, do we have the equipment to remove that? Do we have? And
I mean, we have snow blowers.
Yeah.
The big thing is
No one is
staff.
packed.
You know, we generally speaking, when we're done plowing, we're doing parks or we're doing maintenance, road maintenance things. This would be somebody in some sort of equipment, a chase truck, because as we're blowing it, we can't blow it over the bridge onto the train tracks or onto the houses below. So we kind of have to put it back in the street, then take it out and haul
there's
it.
only houses below on the east side. That's why I say keep the west side and
Right.
put it on the track.
I mean-
The train's not going to hurt a train.
The other thing too with the,
Don't say that because Metro and UP will be after
with
us.
the other thing too is on the south end of the bridge.
Snow.
The sidewalk ends at 173 and Brink. So people get across the bridge, but from there, where are they going?
Right.
Just like they do now, across the street still.
They walk into the Burger King lot. They walk through the Casey's lot. They walk through. Then they're going to have that brand new sidewalk in front of the right.
Car wash.
The little piece of sidewalk in front of the car wash.
You know, we just had Duncan put theirs in. We could have had that
I
one
know.
too.
Anyway, thank you.
I think the important thing is that now that we know we own it, it doesn't make it any less important than we thought it was when we thought the state owned it.
Mhm.
So we have to pursue whatever solution
We don't own it, we have to maintain
we come up with.
it. We don't own it, we have to maintain
No, I mean, we own the problem, I guess is what I'm
it.
saying.
Oh,
Right.
yes, we own it.
And the liabilities with the problems.
And then at some point, you guys can talk about if you want to put light. I think the bridge would look great with lights on it, personally. I think they should have, I don't know why we never put lights on there. There were posts put in for that.
It was cost.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
So at the time, to have it all done was anywhere from $30,000 to $60,000, which the city didn't have at the time. So they did agree to, or the state did agree to put everything there, the conduit and so on, so it's ready to go. With the idea the city at some point in the future would actually wire it and then put the lights up.
Guess it'd be great to have lights that match the downtown area.
I want to say there's 6.
Yeah, 3 on each side, I think. Didn't have to go back and look at it. Thank you, Lou.
The state at the time had deemed that lights were not necessary since we had the reflective, or the reflectors in the roadway.
Okay.
Any other new business? Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion to adjourn.
Second,
It was good working with you guys.
Charlie has been great. Thank you.
Still got city council and.
I
admin.
know, I'm talking to this committee.
This committee.
I'll say the same thing at the admin committee too.
So the new council members don't come until
You need to vote.